Hi, I'm Kelly Patrick, and this is the Resilient Grove. This is our gathering place for honest conversations about healing, resilience, and the courage it takes to grow through life's hardest seasons. Let's take a moment before we begin. I invite you all to join us. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out. Make yourself comfortable, and let's get started. Hi, Erin.
Hello.
You are a mom, a wife, a grandma, an avid cooker, a yoga teacher, and you created a blog from all of that, which is how I met you.
Yeah.
I saw a post after the health and wellness event. I saw a post of yours on, must have been a mutual friends page, and I saw breathing and cooking, and I was like, you seem like someone I need to know.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I said, and here we are.
We
have found that we have many things in common.
We do.
And this is just the first layer that we're going to tackle today.
Yeah.
So first, how did you get into yoga? You became a yoga instructor, and then how that evolved to your breathing and cooking blog.
Okay.
So take it away.
I guess I came to yoga because it was a time in my life I had gone through a divorce recently, and I'd had lots of people ask me to go to yoga classes with them, and it held no interest for me. I just thought it was kind of like stretching, and I didn't really know what yoga was, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So I can't remember what it was that compelled me to go to my first class, but I went by myself. I lived in Worcester at the time, and that was, I guess, would be about 2012. And it was so not what I expected it to be. I remember just kind of being really surprised as I looked around the room and realized there were people of all different shapes, sizes, ages. It was a very, very diverse group, not what I expected, a bunch of white women who looked
Did you
like
have like
me,
the stereotype of what yoga was?
I did. I think I thought that was what it was going to be. So I thought that was really interesting. And I remember as we moved through the practice, it wasn't a heated practice. And it wasn't even particularly hot, like it was an open air, like the windows were open. It was just very nice, slow movements, very intentional, very connected with breath. And at the end of the class, I looked around and there were some people who had like pools of sweat on their mats. And I just thought that was so interesting. I had been doing gym workouts for a long time, and I just thought there's something to this. And also I think, the other thing I noticed in that practice was even though everybody was basically doing the same things, everybody's in Warrior One and, doing a chaturanga or whatnot, everybody was at different levels, and people were kind of finding their own alignment. And even in that first class, I noticed that. I think I was just very drawn to
a lot of perception in that first class.
There was. It was interesting. And and then it grew from there, but I just loved the fact that there was this diversity, not just of, the types of people who were in there, but the levels of ability, and that everyone
you could still all function as one.
Yeah, that we could be connected by the same practice.
Yeah.
And I think it was several years before it really hit me that it was the breath that was kind of that common thread. Even though they were calling breath, I didn't, maybe not even until I got into teacher training did I really understand that was the thing that connected all of it. So that was my introduction to yoga, and I fell in love with it. Stopped going to the gym. Honestly, I
did the same thing.
Did you too?
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
What was it that drew? Like, what was the thing?
I felt like the weightlifting took away from my practice because I was my muscles were so fatigued and I was so tired from weightlifting that I couldn't fully function in my practice because I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, let me just cut out the weightlifting for a bit and focus on the yoga. And my body shape changed.
Yeah.
My strength changed because I was using more muscles than you would in the weightlifting. And it wasn't just until recently I got back into weightlifting, but that's only just because I'm getting older and the bone density stuff.
Yeah,
but
I need to do that. I keep thinking, but I don't, because I just want to do yoga.
But the weightlifting is just, it's a different form of exercise. And that was the same, I grew up weightlifting, so that was my thing too. But so how then did you segue into wanting to become a teacher, and then how that evolved to your blog?
So, and actually it was, I did the blog before I went to teacher training because COVID had happened. And I have always, I am really, really lucky that I grew up in a family where food was central, but cooking food was something that was very valued. It wasn't a chore. My mom loved cooking. My dad's an artist, so he just kind of always, like, things always looked beautiful. There was always like a parsley flourish and like cloth napkins, but it was a thing that was really valuable to us. So I grew up with that. I had that background. I've always cooked. Cooked my first meal at 9. I remember it was saucy little meatloaves, baked potato, and apple crisp. And I wanted to cook a meal, I think probably because I wanted to be like my mom. I liked that idea.
It's an adult thing to do, is cook a meal.
Yeah. And I was like nurturing people.
Yeah.
And it was, anyway, so I have always cooked. And I'm kind of the person in my social circle that when my friends have a cooking question, I get a text on my phone or a phone call. And honestly, as weird as this sounds, like,
so you were just kind of born into this role, huh?
It's kind of very natural for me, and it was exciting to me when someone would ask me a question because they were confused or something wasn't working out right for them, and I could help kind of clear that fog for them, and to watch aha moments in the kitchen, something that's so important. Like, we have to nourish ourselves.
So basically the blog was born because people kept coming to you, and you realized you need now a platform to help others too.
Yeah, and I think people had said for a long time, you need to have a blog.
I love that. I love when other people tell you what you need to do. I know. Like what you did to me. You're like, you need to start your podcast.
Well, I was looking for your podcast when you reached out for me, because I saw it. I'm like, where is this podcast? I need to know. Because
I was like, it's in the future. It's in the future.
Well, so, you know what? And sometimes, like, that's your journey. Maybe like that's what you needed. There's something you've learned between wanting to do your podcast and actually starting it that will benefit your podcast.
But I like the people that are in your life that just gently nudge you, like, you should do this, you should do that. And then when too many people start saying the same thing, you got to do it.
You do. And then, honestly, like, COVID was the big, like, push over the cliff, because I didn't really have the time to put into it, because it's something important to me.
Sure.
To do it the way that I really wanted to do it. And then COVID happened. Like a lot of people, I lost my job. I had time on my hands, and I was just fortunate enough. My husband's like, why don't you just do some of these things that you've always said you wanted to do when you have time? So,
did it feel natural when you were building a website and building the blog? Like,
it was terrifying and confusing because I'm not
techie.
Oh my gosh, but
you figured it out.
I did. I got WordPress for Dummies.
Yeah.
And did a lot of Googling. I love that.
You just worked your way through it.
I did, and I figured it out. And I do think the blog is beautiful. And
so where do you get the content for it? Or how do you get inspired for your content?
So my content just comes from what we're eating as a family. So like any pictures that are on my blog are like the meal that we ate that day.
So then go deeper. Where do you get your inspiration to what you're cooking?
I get my inspiration for what I'm cooking. I love cooking with the seasons. Like, life influences what you want to eat, right? Sometimes you have a busy period in your life. I might, like, there's a lot going on, and I'm like, I need a meal that I can still eat real, wholesome, delicious food, but I only have 30 minutes to cook. So I might end up, if I'm in that phase, I've got some shorter recipes. So
let's talk about that. So the mindfulness obviously is in cooking too, and that's, food is going to be a touchy subject, which is you're the perfect person to talk about this with, is the first thing you need to do with your food and your body is bring that awareness to. Get those distractions away.
And what are the distractions?
Lots of things. Society, the way that we think we're supposed to eat, the way we think we're supposed to look. I mean, it could go deeper and deeper.
I agree. So if, like, the purpose of yoga is really to get that internal awareness so that you truly can rest in who you are and feel that connectedness, I think it's the same with food. The distractions are all of the things that you said. It could be social media, the different messages we hear, the tribalism, the way you were raised, that diet. Yes, absolutely. But there's also something else that, and I mean, nobody agrees with everybody on everything. I think a really big piece of those distractions are the things that are in our food that aren't actually food, the things that give us that convenience, the things that have to be in there when we're going to outsource the work of cooking. I think there is something that happens when you eat processed food
On
that
all
kind
levels,
of hijacks
physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yes, it hijacks our awareness. I mean, I do believe that food is information, and that doesn't mean like you can never eat a potato chip again in your life or anything like that, but it's what is the main source of nourishment for your body, and is that something that helps you to feel deeper into your body and really connect with the way food makes you feel? Or is it something that is kind of hijacking that back and forth communication?
And I think that's something that comes with either age or a illness or something that wakes you up to the point of, what am I eating? What am I doing to my body? And then that's when you start to really look into, but sometimes it's not until you're older when people start, I see a lot of middle-aged people who, their kids are grown, they have time on their hands now, they can take care of themselves. They don't know anything because they've been programmed to eat this way. They've been programmed to think that their body is supposed to look like this. They don't know how to be healthy. They don't know who they are.
I agree.
That's me. I'm in that position right now where I'm 48, just turned 48, and I'm trying to find, what do I want to look like? Who am I?
Yeah.
What do I want to eat? How do I want to cook? And there's a lot of fun in it, I will tell you that. Like going to the markets, finding the fresh fruits and vegetables and figuring out what I want to eat, I love it.
Yeah.
But it's a body image that I'm struggling with.
I get that. And I think a lot of people do. And I think you can't just poo-poo that and be like, that doesn't matter. It's just what inside that counts. Because we all have a bit of that. We're all our own worst critic. I think we just need to give equal attention to how we feel, or maybe even make that the starting point.
How do you feel?
How do you feel?
How does this food make you feel?
How does this food make you feel? And I don't think you know that.
Until you ask yourself that.
Until you ask that. And in order to answer that question, or to even ask that question, you have to get rid of the distractions, which is awareness. And it's not, I know it's not super easy, because we have
so many distractions.
We have so many distractions, and we have so many reasons why people don't cook. And there are real legit roadblocks. We are culturally generations into convenience foods. A lot of people didn't have it modeled for them, or the cooking that they did have modeled for them was opening a box and a can or a bag and kind of mixing it together and heating it up, and that's homemade from scratch. We also have, time is huge for people, and I mean that's real, right? We have dual income families. We've got single parents. You and I both did that. We have activities for our kids and ourselves that we need apps to be able to manage.
Note, let's say someone wants to start becoming more aware of what they're eating, what they're cooking, how to cook. What advice would you have for someone that is just wanting to be more aware?
I think the first piece of advice I would have for them would be to really set your intention, kind of like we do in a yoga practice. Decide why.
I like
why
that.
do you want that? And it might initially be body image. It might be, I just want to have energy again. It could be a whole lot of different things, but I actually think you need a why beyond I want to lose weight or I want to gain weight, because I think that's an issue also. Like an eating disorder can go either way.
Either way, yeah.
But I think you need to find a bigger why. I think a really good why could be, I want agency over my life, and I want to be able to connect.
And I think that's what you said, is a lot of people don't realize how much food weighs them down. Not only physical weight, but emotional weight, mental weight. And you don't realize it because you have that same diet. You just eat and you just feel that way every day.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it's not supposed to feel that way.
Yeah, I agree. It's freedom.
Yeah.
Right, is what we all, we want freedom.
And you don't understand what that is until you feel it.
I agree.
And you can't feel it until you bring that awareness to it.
So it's hard to start.
Yeah.
It's hard to start. And so I guess you have to look at the reasons.
I love the intention though. Just having that intention is why do you want to do this?
I think any change that we want to make in our life has to start with a good intention.
Yeah.
So figure out that why, and then look at the things. What are your instant, and I'm going to use the word excuse, even though reasons and excuses have some things in common. What are the things that you feel has stopped you from doing that? Is it knowledge? I don't have a clue how. Is it time? I don't know where I'm going to find the time to do this. Is it you have the perception that cooking is more expensive?
Could be all of the above.
It could be all of the above.
Yeah.
But figure out what's the roadblock that you have the most ability to
and
manage
now that you're talking
right
about
now.
that, I think a lot of it is lack of knowledge, lack of education.
I think it's huge. Mindset and perception that it's a chore,
Yeah.
that it's like somehow, especially as women, we think, oh, they're going to stick me in the kitchen, but somehow we praise men who can cook. We're like,
I know.
that guy's a catch. He can, he can
Right.
cook me dinner, but somehow when a woman does, I mean, we need to put the value back into it as far as mindset. It's important. It's an important thing. So I think there are different ways that...
I like the intention. So the intention, because with intention comes awareness.
Yes.
Because now that you're finding some intention, there's going to be a level of awareness there, and then you just build on that as you move through it. So let's hit on how food is used, can be used as a fuel, and it can be used as a weapon. And that is something that I've experienced in my life, where food was used as a weapon to control me. And I watched my son use food as a weapon to control his environment. There's a lot of people that use food as an emotional escape.
Yeah.
So food is a very, what we said earlier, it's a sensitive topic to talk about what somebody looks like, what somebody, the shape of their body. And I think as women, we struggle with that a lot more. But I don't want to say that men don't struggle with that, but it's a real thing. And so food is central to that.
Food is.
So how do you flip the script of seeing food not as a weapon, but as a source of, this is what nourishes me too?
So I want you to, because I think it's interesting. There's two extremes to that. Food can be used as a weapon. Food can also be used as an escape and a crutch, which is kind of the opposite, right? So the answer is somewhere in between, the middle of that. So explain to me, can you give me an example of food being used as a weapon?
Well, when I was a child, they restricted my food to keep me thin. So it was all part of the grooming process towards the sexual abuse, but they were all overweight, and they didn't want me to look like that, so they restricted my food. So it was used as a weapon. So I wasn't allowed to eat what I wanted to eat because it was restricted. Then I married a man who felt that same way. I had to look like the Playboy models. I had to look like the porn girls. So I grew up thinking that that's how my body was supposed to look.
Yeah.
So I kept it that way. I restricted my own food. I restricted myself. And I tortured myself for many, many years. And then as I got older, as my children got older, my son started repeating that cycle, restricting food.
Okay.
When his world was so out of control, when my ex was taking us to court, he used food as a way to have some sort of control, and he just didn't eat.
Okay.
So food in that aspect, and then my ex-husband preyed on that, and then used food as a weapon for them too. So food has always been weaponized in our culture, in our family culture.
Yeah.
So now we're all trying to break that, where we can use food as nourishment and make us feel good too.
Right.
So we're trying to flip that script now,
Okay.
where food is good. It's not bad.
Sorry that happened.
Yeah, but that's why I've found enjoyment going to the farmers markets, and it's just being around. It's different than going to a grocery store, because grocery stores all have that processed food as well. And not that farmers markets don't have some processed food, but it's very little.
Yeah.
Everything is very fresh, very seasonal. And I have now found that I'm seasonal eating too, because I love going to the markets and just getting whatever they have, and then just planning my recipes around that.
Yeah, it's fun. And that's where you are on your journey. So you had some time that led up to that.
But I don't know if I would have truly enjoyed the farmers market visits and the shopping as much as if I didn't go through all of that food being weaponized, because now I find the enjoyment in the way that I can nourish my body.
Yeah.
And then now the body image is coming with it. Like, I'm allowed to have muscles. I'm allowed to be bigger. Like, I'm allowed to have fat. I'm allowed to have muscles.
Yeah.
Like, before I wasn't allowed to have any of that.
Right.
So it's like finding, what do I want to look like? What do I want to eat? I feel great when I eat. Like when I open up my refrigerator and I see all those fresh fruits and vegetables, like it's just amazing. I love it. So it's really changing how I view food now.
Right. Well, that's interesting. So my story. I've been overweight and I've been underweight. I think at the time in my life when I was overweight, I think because food has always been something comfortable and enjoyable for me. When I was heavier than what was healthy, I think it was like that was the thing. We were very poor, and that was something that I could always escape from the other things that were happening in my life by like making dessert, you know? So it wasn't that dessert is wrong, but maybe the balance was off for me. I was eating more like really heavy, comforting foods that would kind of put me in a food coma, because I kind of liked that coma, you know?
Can you describe what you felt like in that food coma, what that felt like to you?
So I'll say like, when I was feeling out of balance with what I ate, because I was eating things that were probably just very, like, I was overindulging in things. And there's a fine line, too. I really didn't have any energy. I felt sluggish. I used to have a lot of headaches. I wanted to take a nap. I just didn't have energy. At the time, it felt really, really good because I wasn't really connecting what is this pleasure going to turn into later. And I think it would be, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and I'd lay in bed and kind of squish myself, and or things felt tight when I put them on. I did not like the way that felt. I didn't have anyone criticizing me for it though. But I didn't have the energy. I was depressed too, and I think what we eat very much has mental and emotional effects on us.
All right, so let's talk about the heaviness that you said, you know, you mentioned the food coma. That heaviness comes with a lot of like eating the low energy foods, which is the processed food, the heavy creams, the sugars, the potatoes, you know, all of that. So then you have the high energy food, which is more the fresh vegetables and the fruits. Meat. Let's talk about meat. As a yoga teacher, we are often assumed to be vegetarian or vegan, because there is a 8 limbs part of our philosophy. Yoga philosophy is nonviolence, and that applies to killing animals. So it's something that I've struggled with as a yoga teacher. I think it's something every yoga teacher struggles with. Let's talk about that.
Okay, I think you're right. Like in yoga, it definitely comes up. There are a lot more vegans and vegetarians in yoga, I think, than there are omnivores, and certainly more than there are carnivores. In my teacher training, there were 2 vegans in my class, and there were only like 5 of us, but 2 of them were vegans. And when ahisma came up, it was an interesting topic. Everybody knows that I eat meat because in that circle, I was in the community before. I mean, I have felt judged for it before, but I have to be really honest. When we were studying ahisma, I had to really think deeply about it. The conclusion that I have come to, as far as how yoga and ahisma can be compatible with being an omnivore, is we are part of nature. We're part of the whole circle of life. And when you really trace that down, there is no such thing as a bloodless diet. There is no life without death. There is no nourishment without something else being given up for it. If you're not eating animals, you're eating plants. And if you're eating plants, most of those plants are grown in a monoculture, and there are a whole lot of creatures that are killed in order to make that environment profitable for just growing corn or soy or whatever it is. Those creatures just aren't as cute as cows with long eyelashes. I mean, you're killing bugs, you're killing birds, you're killing rodents,
so on
you're
that
killing
note,
the soil.
So to make it ethical.
So I think what I believe is biologically, we there are nutrients we can only get from animal products.
And I think what you said earlier, it's individual. There's some people that may not like eating meat and they feel best eating fruits and vegetables, and that's great.
I absolutely respect that.
But there are a lot of us that really, truly value eating meat.
Yeah, I think it's very nourishing.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say about that, like in nature, if this is how we're wired, I guess this is how I think of it ethically. If this is how we're wired, nature didn't create us in a way to need something that is impossible for us to get without industry, because we didn't have industry. So you can use supplements, and if you are ethically I cannot bear the thought of consuming animal products, I can absolutely respect that. But I think we have to respect each other. Mm-hmm. Now, where I would take a different stand from some people who do consume meat is, I think that we have a responsibility to be ethical about the meat that we consume.
I want to say it's not just meat. I mean, I'm ethical with my vegetables and my fruit too. I
agree.
I don't waste. I try to use, and anything that I do have, I feed it to the wildlife in the backyard.
That's so nice.
I know,
and that's good.
Well, because I know they eat it. Or compost.
Absolutely.
Right.
So I think we're called to. So with a being that feels and I believe has emotion, mm-hmm. I think we're responsible for how they live their life while they're here, and we're also responsible for how they die. And the only parallel I can really draw is, you think about, we don't think that a lion is evil for chasing down a zebra and killing it, because that's what a lion needs to do to survive. And that zebra lived free for a very long time. And it's sad, as human beings, we watch that. I used to watch the nature shows as a kid, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, how can the cameraman let that happen?
I used to get into those complexes, like, who do you want to root for? The lion needs food,
right?
But do you want the zebra to live?
Right.
It's like, well, the zebra can live, but then the lion's going to suffer.
Right. So, I mean, that's kind of like the universal, there's no way to get away from that. I think that the way the responsibility of a farmer who is caretaking for these animals is to take responsibility in the way that they die as well. And that's a hard thing to say, and people probably get very angry about that. Like, is there really a good death? And I think a quick, painless death that's not stressful is much better than having a lion clamp onto your neck in the wild. I would think on that note, a lot of people are afraid to watch those documentaries because they don't want to know. Yeah. You have to know. I think it's important to know. Actually, there's a really great book that I ended up reading while I was going through teacher training, and it's Michael Pollan's The Omnivore's Dilemma. Oh, I haven't heard of that one. Because I was really looking into it, and it's a fabulous book. Like, if somebody is on the fence, like, is this okay? Is it not okay? And they really want to understand how that piece fits into our health and our food system, read The Omnivore's Dilemma, because it's just a very honest look at what is industrial agriculture, what is regenerative agriculture. And I think that the lines are so blurry now, unless you really focus on that, you'll just get caught up in, society and social media and what you're supposed to do and not even think about that. Yeah. And that's the awareness is a big thing. Yeah. We get the sound bites. I think it's really important to pay attention beyond the sound bites and look into things if they're important to you. Agreed. Agreed. You have to have the intention, what you said. Let's touch on what you said earlier. Is like, eating is obviously very individual. Body shape, body type is very individual. You want to talk about how the diets and all of that stuff. So let's dive into that. I guess I don't follow a diet. Right. I think. Have you ever been a dieter? Ever followed a diet? So I did. After I had gone to the doctor for a checkup, and he told me I was overweight and I needed to lose 20 pounds. So I overcorrected, and I ended up losing 60 pounds. So I was very underweight. I'm like right in the middle of where I was now. So I was 30 pounds heavier. I needed to lose some weight. And then I got here, and I'm like, I'm going to keep going because how did you lose all that weight then? It wasn't healthy. I starved myself. Yeah. I decided carbs were evil. Yeah. I worked out like crazy, and I started to really I liked the feeling of control that I got from that.
And I think that probably describes a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's not sustainable.
No,
it's not.
It's not. I did the same thing.
Yeah,
I was sick all the time. I couldn't. My body had no. And this is I noticed too. I wanted to talk about when I work with older adults. The people who have no body fat, they die sooner. Yeah. The people who have some sort of average body size live longer because their body has nourishment. It's the failure to thrive. Have you heard of that before?
No, I mean,
failure to thrive is where people are so small, they don't have any nourishment on their body to withstand whatever, if they got pneumonia or a cold, or that's why the flu and pneumonia typically kill a lot of older people, because their body is just so malnourished that doesn't have the means to, and so, but as I was a young kid working with those people, it was like, I want to stay thin, I want to stay fit. Like I didn't even make those connections. Like, oh, wait a minute, I need to have some nourishment. And I kept getting sick. And then the more weight I gained, the less sick I got.
That's interesting.
Yes.
But I'm sure there's a point too where then it starts to go the other way.
Correct. So you have to find that balance in between.
Which is yoga.
Which is yoga. And so having said that, I've never followed a diet. It's a lifestyle to me. I think diets restrict people. And when you restrict yourself, just like we said earlier, we restricted food to ourselves, right? Because we had that control. That's not sustainable and that's not healthy.
Right.
We're just causing our own distractions when we do that.
I agree.
So yes, I'm not a dieter.
So here's the hard, I think, in my mind, I think, okay, it's really intuitive eating, but there's an issue with intuitive eating too. Intuitive eating would mean you're really listening to what your body needs. But if you've got this stuff coming into your body that's hijacking all of those signals, your intuitive eating is telling you, I want more of that food. Or like, you have to be able to, you have to get yourself to a place where you can trust the messages. And I think the only way to do that is find an intention that is more than about a number on a scale. Or how
you want to look.
Yes.
It has to be more than a physical.
It has to be something deeper than that. And then you need to clear away the distractions. And that's the only principle that I would say. Like, you could look at all the diets that are out there, keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian.
We could even talk about the Ozempic, all the weight loss drugs, all of that.
Yes, but I mean, just as far as food goes, you look at all of those diets with all of these rules who have no idea who you are and what your circumstances are and what your abilities are, and they're telling you this food's good, this food's bad. But the reality is, you could be a really unhealthy keto, vegan, vegetarian, whatever, omnivore, carnivore. What you need to do is, all of those could be healthy for some season in your life. I don't think anything extreme is really going to be healthy for your entire life, but I think there's a season for everything. If you follow the rules of those diets, but you only eat real wholesome food that doesn't have all of these non-food things and synthetics and hasn't gone through these processes that remove nutrients so that they have to be added back in. If you do that, any of them can work for you for a certain period of time.
Let's talk about what that term is. It's conscious living. So go dive into what conscious living is to you.
You know what? I need you to explain what it is first, because I'm not sure. I think I know what you're talking about.
What you just said.
Okay.
Conscious living is being conscious of how you're living.
Okay.
Not only, I mean, it can go beyond food too, right? So if we're this conscious about how we're eating, then you've got to be conscious of how you're behaving, how you're acting, how you're reacting, all of that. So conscious living is just being aware on every level.
I agree. Actually, that's all in the yamas and the niyamas and the 8 limbs. Like, those are good things, but it's
but you know, just because we're yoga teachers, there's a lot of yoga teachers that don't follow that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think they're guidelines. Right? Yeah. Because none of us, I think you can go, no matter anything we talk about, you can always go to an extreme on, and that's what we see. So I guess within conscious living, there's a danger in thinking, it's paralyzing to think I have to do everything absolutely right, because there are so many things to think about.
I want to pause there for a second. I don't feel like it's thing right. It's how it feels for you.
Yes.
Like you said earlier, everything is individual.
I agree.
Finding the right and the wrong is your path, your journey, because only you know what feels right for you.
It's alignment, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I see it, and I think you probably see this too when you're teaching, and there's a pose, and that pose is these toes are facing forward, and there's a little space, and this toe is pointing out, right? And then reach up, and now let's go ahead and bend forward. My legs are different from the length of your legs. My torso is different. I have a different history with my hips in childbirth. Or, I sit at a desk all day and you don't sit at a desk all day. The alignment that we're each going to find in our own body, in our own practice, is different. The spirit of it, the principle of that posture is the same. Your heart's open, you're relying on your foundation. But we all have to be able to close our eyes in that pose and really kind of go inside and feel our body and what fits me now. And you know what? Your practice today is going to be different from your practice tomorrow.
I want to, that's a great way to say that everything is individual.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times with food, it's so societal, cultural, that we get lost in all of that.
Yeah.
And we don't even realize that, we can be conscious about what we're eating and what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because you just get lost in the culture and in the society of it all.
So I guess consciousness, and then, so in that way, it's shutting out the noise.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean you don't listen to anything, but
you
being
listen to
selective
yourself.
Of what you're allowing in, and then sitting with how that makes you feel. And what result are you getting from that?
So on that note, let's take what we know now. At any age of your life, what would you like to give advice to? What advice would you give your previous self? What you know now. All those struggles that you went through with your diet or with your body image and your weight and your cooking and the eating, knowing what you know now, what's one piece of advice that you wished you could have known back then?
So that's tricky because it's knowing what I know now, and I think you have to go through that journey.
You do.
So I think my advice would be, I would have given myself the advice to go inside.
I love that.
And to really trust my instinct.
Yes.
And it matters what's happening out here. There are practical things, but my advice would be listen to that voice because it's there for a reason, and make as much room as you can for that voice to speak with you.
Yeah.
You need to listen.
Where can people find you?
Breathingandcooking.com.
Breathingandcooking.com.
Breathing and Cooking.
Okay. And we talked about right before the advice that you would give yourself is to go inside, and that was phenomenal. I love that. I wish, again, I could have had that advice as well. But it is a journey, and it's something that I've been able to pass on to my kids now so that they can get it faster than I did. Yeah. And which is lovely. But it is a journey, and you have to appreciate the process. And then you just mentioned how you end every blog, which is
to don't forget to breathe, trust yourself, and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process.
Yep.
That's one thing I guess I would have probably told myself, is that there's going to be some ebbs and flows.
Absolutely.
And just enjoy this process. Food is supposed to be nourishment, makes us feel good.
It's joyful.
We've lost that along the way.
We have.
And so we need to get that back, as that food can be good for us. And
Absolutely.
It is good for us.
It is.
So,
there's no good food or bad food.
Right.
There's what works for you and what
works
doesn't
for you.
work for
Everything
you.
is individual.
Absolutely.
Just like yoga.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
Erin. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks.